Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! This was back in the early 2000s, probably 2003 or 2004 school year. Throughout the entire year, there was a crime wave of people having things stolen out of their locked lockers. Not everyone, but enough that everyone knew someone it's happened to. The school's only defense about this was that it was our fault for sharing locker combos with our friends. They also charged us every time we had to get the combination changed on a locker, like after a theft for instance, because it was assumed to be our fault. Well, I had my graphing calculator taken out of my locker. I also never gave out my combination to anyone. Mostly because my friends were jerks and we pulled crap on each other all the time. So I was out $150 for the calculator and another $150 to change the combination, getting a locksmith to change out the lock. This is 2003 money, so it's a bit more than now. To anyone who has ever had to buy a TI 86 in 2003 or 4, you'll know how much the things cost. Well, my dad was drinking buddies with one of the county detectives. I'll call him Detective Buddy or Uncle Buddy. He went in to talk to the school about these string of thefts going on so he could get the security camera for the day. My calculator went missing and got completely brushed off as it's a non-existent problem, and he must have given out his locker combination. The principal told him he would need a warrant to get the camera footage. Then, when he got the warrant, the school fought the warrant in court, citing student privacy. Cue the revenge. Detective Buddy shows up at our house with a laptop in a laptop bag. He's like, throw this in your locker and tell everyone you know about your brand new laptop. Okay, sure, Uncle Buddy. 3 days later, I show up in my locker between classes and the laptop is gone. The bag too. Nowhere to be seen. As is a 24-ounce bottle of Coke, and possibly some pins. I take my phone out and text him that the laptop got taken. Stand by for the crap show. Oh, and you reported the theft to the police, FYI. He replies back, okay. I replied, confused. I got about the rest of my day and I don't hear anything back. The following morning, Detective Buddy comes to the school with 3 ununiformed officers and pulls a student, Dave, out of class, as well as his mom who works in the front office. The principal is pissed. I don't actually hear the cops, but the principal is angry to no end that he had the audacity to accuse them of theft, and he couldn't just take them out of his school and so on. Well, turns out there was a tracker in a laptop bag and Uncle Buddy got a warrant to search a particular house. The laptop had a value of over $1,000, making it a felony. The next afternoon, he set up a tent with a table just outside the school grounds. He also had a banner across the top. If you have something stolen from your locker, see me. By the next morning, Dave and his mom made the paper. Apparently, Dave allegedly used his mom's login information to get onto the school network and get the locker combinations for basically everyone. Then he just opened random lockers looking for valuables to steal. If he didn't get information of a specific locker to steal from, when he set up a stand to get more people reporting thefts, he racked up an astounding number of charges. Each locker counted as a separate misdemeanor unless a stolen object was worth more than $1,000, in which case it was a felony. In less than a week, Uncle Buddy opened and broke an investigation, and they charged Dave and his mom with 9 felonies and 35 misdemeanor charges. When I finally got the situation from Buddy, he explained what the situation was. He had me stash a brand new laptop that had a GPS tracking unit stuck in it in my locker. Then get it stolen deliberately, and then he got a warrant to search the property it had been taken to. Now the fun thing to stress is that the laptop was over $1,000 worth, pushing the theft from a misdemeanor to felony level. There were also another 8 felony charges, stuff like jewelry that was stolen from other people's locker and recovered. So any of the locker break-ins that amounted to over $1,000 stolen was a felony charge, and less than $1,000 was practically a misdemeanor charge. Cool thing was that because the calculator and the laptop were separate days, and the combination changed between the days, he got a felony and a misdemeanor charge off me alone. The 9 felony thefts ended up in a $12,000 range total, and 35 misdemeanor charges were somewhere in the range of $3,000 total in value. Now that's an awful lot of stuff stolen, but I need to stress that this is only what was proven stolen. Like this is what they caught him with in his possession, that they could actually trace back to someone. They also didn't let him plead to anything. It was Bottingsville's highest profile crime in years and without a doubt one of the worst crime sprees the county had seen in decades. Next up on a revenge, everyone who had been charged $150 to get their locker combinations changed sued the school district in a class action lawsuit. The justification was that the school did nothing to investigate the 44 proven and more than likely 200+ cases of locker theft and then charged money to get the locker combinations changed. There were 218 people in the class, and in total everyone got $85 after attorney's fees. The principal also lost his job for being a bonehead and not bothering to attempt to deal with a massive problem that was reported to him going on at the school. The fun thing I need to point out is that the school brought in a locksmith to change out the locks. That's why they justified charging $150. Well, the school already paid the $150 a locker, but they also had to return $100 per locker, meaning that they were out $21,800 plus their legal fees for that class action suit. Next comes a criminal trial and a fallout. The prosecutor's deal was 10 years in prison, 5 in juvenile and 5 in adult prison for Dave, and 15 for Dave's mother. Well, they refused that deal and it went to trial. Dave got 1 year prison for each felony, the state minimum, and 1 month's probation for each misdemeanor. So 9 years plus 35 months of probation. His mom received 18 years of jail and 6 years of probation. Having attended much of the best parts of the trial, I will say this. They had Dave on camera entering 20+ lockers and they had them in possession of stolen goods for every single charge they made against him. The judge was also not amused that there were likely other reported crimes that they got away with because they couldn't prove it or they weren't reported. Dave's mom got it worse. That was a fun sentencing to show up for. But the most important thing is that I got my graphing calculator back. It had my name engraved inside the battery compartment. I still have it as well as a cool story to tell. It's Friday at the end of the most miserable week on a business trip with temperatures in the high 90s and humidity between 75 and 85%. I did nothing but sweat all week. I'm on my way to the airport and need to stop to fill up the tank in a rental car before I take it back. I pulled into a rather large gas station with multiple bums, but they were all in use until I got to the very last one. I noticed a woman in her vehicle and the pump handle hung on the pump and thought, oh good, she's done. So I pulled in behind her, I gave her a friendly beep beep over the horn thinking she might not have noticed someone behind her. And 3 or 4 minutes later, I got out of my car, walked up to her sitting in her car, and I said, "Excuse me, I'm waiting for the bump, can you please move?" Oh no. This is when it all broke out. She was sitting in her car yapping on not 1 but 2 cell phones when she started screaming that she hadn't pumped her gas yet, that she needed to go pay. And not to rush her, and she'd tell me like she told the last 3 to go wait behind someone else. That was a wrong answer. Given the week I had that I'm headed to the airport and a simple thing as filling up the tank is being held up by this, I don't want to call her Karen lest I insult the Karens of the world, so I refer to her as Bunny. So I let loose on her entitlement. I'm not proud of myself, but I verbally lit into her. Mostly various iterations of get out you entitled, pretentious witch. Of course, for everything I said, I was countered with some completely irrelevant to the current situation. Now mind you, I'm standing at least 5 feet from her when she tried to sick her Rottweiler/Pitbull mixed dog that's barking his full head off. What she didn't realize is I'm like Dr. Doolittle, and the dog whisperer wrapped in one. No, I do not train dogs. It's just an innate ability I have. Dogs, cats, birds, so yeah. I started talking real sweet, showing him my hand and he turned into a big old bag of marshmallows. Well, that really pissed her off. She jumped out of her car and started threatening me with bodily injury. So I laughed, thumped my chest and said, "Bring it. If you've got it, bring it." What she didn't know is that I've had about 10 years of kickboxing and a couple of trophies from some matches. So I had no fear of this skinny, loud-mouthed woman. But the main thing is I was calling her bluff on every threat she made. Her final attempt at intimidation was to call the police. Of course, I told her to quit yakking and to do it then. And she did. I wasn't at all concerned. I'd done nothing wrong. In the meantime, her father drove up. Apparently, she needed daddy to protect her. He was nice enough to let me rationally explain what was going on, and boy, the look he gave her was priceless. So he drove off and the police showed up. I walked towards him, introduced myself and told him what was going on. They asked me if I could go to another lane now and they would come talk to me there. So I did. I finished rather quickly, so I parked in the parking lot and waited. The woman police officer came over to get my driver's license for an identification check and told me Bunny said I'd laid hands on her. Again, I chuckled and told her not a chance, and if I'd have laid hands on her, she'd be laid out on a concrete. And the police officer chuckled too. So the male officer came over and said that I was free to go. I said thank you, and I asked him to let her know if any part of the video she'd been taking shows up in part or in whole on any internet forum, site or video sharing site, that I would sue the crap out of her because I had not signed the release. He chuckled and said, "Yes ma'am, have safe travels." As I'm pulling out to leave, I looked in my rearview mirror to see her lean face first into her car while they slapped cuffs on her. I assumed she had an outstanding warrant or something. I just felt bad for that big old bag of marshmallow dog. This is about an encounter I had with a mother and her entitled daughter at a local park. It was a Saturday afternoon and I had decided to take a stroll in the park. I was walking around enjoying the sunshine when I saw a little girl around 6 years old playing by herself on a swing set. She looked so happy and I couldn't help but smile at her. That's when her mother came up to me and the trouble began. The mother, a woman in her mid-30s, marched up to me with a scowl on her face. "What are you doing?" she demanded, her voice sharp and accusatory. I was taken aback by her tone. "Excuse me? What are you doing here? Are you some kind of weirdo or something? Why are you looking at my daughter like that?" I was shocked by her accusations. I was just admiring how happy she looked on a swing, I said, trying to defuse the situation. "Well, you can admire from a distance," she snapped. "Don't come near my daughter again." I was a little unnerved by the encounter, but I decided to brush it off and continue my walk. I didn't want to cause any trouble and I certainly didn't want to upset the little girl. But as I was walking away, I heard the mother say something to her daughter that made my blood boil. "See, honey, that's why we can't trust strangers," she said loudly. "They are all dangerous." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I'm not a dangerous person and I would never harm a child. The mother's words were insulting and hurtful, and I knew I had to do something about it. I turned around and walked back to the swing set. "Excuse me, ma'am," I said, addressing the mother. "I do not appreciate the way you're talking about me in front of your daughter. I'm just trying to enjoy a nice day in the park like everyone else." The mother scoffed. "Yeah, right. You're probably here to steal our stuff or something." I was starting to lose my patience at this point. "That's a ridiculous accusation," I said. "I'm just trying to be polite and have a conversation with you here." "I don't want to talk to you," she said, turning her back on me. I could see that she was getting angry, but I couldn't just walk away. I wanted to set the record straight and show her that not all strangers are dangerous. "Look, I understand that you're worried about your daughter's safety, but you're not doing her any favors by teaching her to be afraid of everyone she meets. The mother spun around to face me, her face contorted with rage. "How dare you tell me how to raise my child?" she shouted. "You have no idea what it's like to be a parent." I was getting angry now too. "Actually, I do know what it's like to be a parent," I said. "I have a child of my own, and I would never teach her to be afraid of strangers, at least not all of them." The mother snorted. "I don't believe you." "It's true, and I think it's important to teach children to be kind and open-minded, not fearful and closed off." The mother sneered at me. "Well, I think it's important to keep my child safe. And if that means being cautious around strangers, then so be it." I could feel my blood boiling again. "Being cautious is one thing," I said, "but teaching your daughter to be afraid of everyone she meets is not the way to do it. You're just instilling fear and distrust in her, and that's just not healthy." The mother's face turned bright red, and I could see her fists clenching at her sides. "You know what?" she said, stepping closer to me. "I'm sick of you and your stupid opinions. Get the hell out of here before I call the cops." I could feel my heart racing as she took another step towards me. I didn't know what she was capable of, but I knew I couldn't back down. "I'm not leaving until you apologize for the way you've been treating me," I said firmly. The mother let out a primal scream and lunged at me. I tried to dodge her, but she caught me off guard and knocked me to the ground. We struggled for a few moments, but I was able to get the upper hand and pin her to the ground. "Get off me, you psycho!" she screamed, thrashing beneath me. I held her down with all my strength. "I am not letting you go until you calm down." The mother continued to struggle, but eventually she wore herself out and lay still beneath me. I lit her up and brushed myself off, still a little shaken from the encounter. The mother gathered up her daughter and stormed off, casting one last scowl in my direction. I watched her go, feeling a mix of relief and anger. I was glad that she had apologized in a way, but I was still upset that she had judged me so harshly in the first place. Okay, now honestly, me, Crown, has huge mixed feelings about this story. What about you? My husband is currently redoing our roof after it failed in December following a heavy frost. It's taken a long time, and as a result, he's been unable to go to work or help care for our 9-month-old, as stopping water running down the walls has been the priority. Edit to add. He decided he'd build dormers once the tiles and felt were off to avoid having to strip the roof ever again. This is what has taken a long time, as while he's been building the dormers, the roof has been exposed. It's been extremely difficult for me. I went to my workplace and explained the situation. They said I could bring my daughter while I was without support from my husband. I can't afford the nursery or my salary, and my family lives far. I work in a museum of creative children's activities. All of January, I worked on creating a big audiobook trail and baby sensory room from February half-term. I managed to install it a week early. Everyone was really happy. Then, the day before I was due to be in 5 days to monitor the launch week of this trail, I received an email from the CEO, who is never on site, saying I wasn't allowed to bring my daughter in anymore because it was inappropriate. I said okay, good luck finding someone to cover me, and took all my paid leave. I'm now looking for freelance work delivering workshops so I can leave, while they scramble to get someone to monitor the room. All my team have played along and have said if you don't want a baby in the baby room, it's just not gonna get staffed. They lost 5 staff members last week because of poor management. And it's not a large team either. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.